chatted about it some. I Man, first off, I mean, I think Justin Rose was incredible. Like his putter getting hot is just insane. I know you said for his age, like to be able to show up like that, man, it's incredible. But just the shots down the stretch, like and the putts he made, what was it? The putt on 17 or 18, that thing broke like 3 feet. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Is he on your Ryder Cup team for Europe right now? I really haven't like paid that much attention to kind of the Europe bubble, but
Yeah, I think he's an auto
I think
qualifier.
he's got to, right? I hadn't really looked at it much, but I bet
Yeah,
he is.
to your point, I mean, this is a guy 45 years old, plays a pretty full schedule compared to some of
Uh-huh.
these guys. And I
Yeah,
mean, for it to be 95 degrees,
yeah,
4 events, goes to a playoff and just
insane.
crazy. Yeah, you
But we
just you
we
keep
talk about it
comparing
all the time, right? Like he seemingly has only showed up in big tournaments, but at his age, that's all you're really, it's kind of been like the Phil Mickelson his last couple of years on the PGA Tour.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you look at this year, he's third at Pebble Beach, eighth at the API,
yeah,
second at the Masters, sixth at the Scottish, 16th at the Open, and then a win. I mean, that's just showing up to all the
that's
massive
crazy.
events.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
wild. That's pretty wild. Tommy, I've obviously been on him for this past weekend. I was on him at the Travelers. I know Rick talked a lot about like just his body language. I heard Mark Immelman kind of say the same thing. I mean, man, at some point, like the scar tissue just builds up in a negative way, right? Like it's like he knows it's coming. We all know it's coming, and I don't. I just don't know what else to say. I mean, it's so encapsulating him not hitting driver on 18. I mean, when you know you have to have a birdie, and he pulls I don't know if it was a mini driver or 3 wood, and he hits it plenty long enough, just like Rose blasted it over, the corner. He hits it plenty long enough to have given himself a wedge in. But he just kind of takes the easy way out and hits a 3 wood, and obviously never gave himself a chance. But I just think that's so encapsulating of like his round on Sunday. But it's painful, man. It's painful. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he finds a way to lose. Like
Yeah,
you think back to like the what was it, the 2023 Canadian Open,
Canadian. Yeah,
that
yeah,
that easy par five, and then
yeah,
obviously Nick Taylor drained like a 75 footer on him, but like
yeah.
it's like a 500-yard par five, and he finds a
Right.
way. So I think he needed birdie for the win. Can't
Yeah, I
do
think
it,
so.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And like this weekend, like 17, um, or that would have been 16, right in the middle of
16
the
par
fairway.
five. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 220 yards, and just like he hits these shots at the. Yeah, to your point, it's got to be scar tissue, and it's like I don't know if you like fail your driver's test like 15 times in a row,
Right. At
like
some point, you're kind of like,
yeah,
well, it's just going to keep happening, like,
right,
and it's just continued. But it's crazy. I mean, you can kind of see it on TV, but it's pretty insane that people have said like you can truly see it in his body language. Which I just don't feel like they talk that much about that. In professional golf, you feel like most of these guys are pretty even keel and you don't show a ton of emotion like that. But Tommy obviously shows it in the negative way, which is just, I guess I get it, but at the same time, and I was thinking about this. He really didn't play terribly. He didn't go out and win it. But it took a Justin Rose going off during the stretch to get into the playoff and win. JJ Spawn obviously played really well, but he made that big putt on 17, right? So like Tommy just leaves the door open for guys to come get him, and they do, and then it's just kind of, he's never assertive enough to go get it himself, I guess. I don't know.
yeah. And like I just pulled up his Ryder Cup stats. Like in individual Ryder Cup matches, he's 7-3,
Oh, he's
7-3 and
insane.
two.
He's insane. What
Oh,
was it? He and Molinari the one year went 5-0.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's in there. It's just like when it's just him and his caddy
Yeah.
on the bag and no
Yeah.
team around him, he crumbles over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of like the counterpoint, like you think back, I think next on our list here was Spawn.
Spawn, yeah.
Uh, you think back to the Players Championship, when he came out in that 3-hole playoff with Rory, and
Yeah.
like he just crumbled. Like 16, I think he hit that second shot, it kind of like hoselled it, should have went in the
Yeah.
water, and then
Yep.
like he looks so out of place, but
Yeah, he
to kind
did.
of he went through it, and then he gets in the U.S. Open,
Yep.
he wins that, he goes off on the back nine after that weather break, and then
Yeah.
like yeah, it's like he experienced it, he lost,
Man,
and he
on
just
Spawn, I heard someone bring this point up today. So Scotty's your number one, obviously, for the US Ryder Cup. Number two is who? Probably Bryson, right?
yeah, you would think
I'd
so. I
say.
mean,
You'd think so, right?
yeah,
Dude, JJ Spawn's probably number three. I
that's
mean, you could
that
maybe
that's
argue Xander, but Xander hasn't had a great year, right? I mean, think of it. This is how I was thinking about it. If he obviously he loses to Rory in the playoff at the Players, and then he just lost in the playoff this past week. He wins one of those. He won a U.S. Open, and then whether it was the Players or last week, a pretty stout golf tournament. That's a big deal. I mean, then he's finished top five two or three times this year. He's probably if the Ryder Cup was next or this coming week, he's probably your number three guy, which is insane to say, obviously. But
yeah. I mean, there's just, and we've talked about this a bunch. There's so many American golfers that just, go months, partial seasons and just do nothing. Like if I go
yeah,
down the Ryder Cup list right now, I mean, Cantlay, I think what is he? He's missed 3 out of the 4
yeah,
major cuts this year.
yeah,
JT's JT. He peaked
sure.
and he won. I mean, that was a big win at
Hilton Head, yeah,
Hilton Head. Morikawa hasn't won in 3 years, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
it's like you got this like dichotomy of like American golfers. They either like are players that have had great years and they just aren't having it, or you got these guys rising up like Ben Griffin, Chris Cotter up,
right,
Cam Young. Obviously, we were boots on the ground, just got that win, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting Ryder Cup.
yeah.
I still think Europe has a better overall squad.
Absolutely. I think you and I both have agreed. I don't know how US is favored right now. Obviously it's on American soil, but dude, Ben Griffin's probably your 4 or 5 guy. I again, you're talking JJ Spawn and Ben Griffin being two of your top 5 guys. Probably isn't great, but they're both playing good golf. I mean, arguably just as good, if not better golf than Europe's 2 and 3 and 4 guys. So I don't know if you think about it that way, maybe it's not crazy, but I don't know. That's um it's gonna be interesting. And then I know you had Scotty kind of that tee shot on what was that 15 for him was surprising.
Yeah,
I think it speaks a lot about how good Scotty is that he hits one bad tee shot like that, and we're like, holy shit, like what just happened? But um again, I mean, dude, he didn't play perfectly, but he still was one shot off of the playoff. I mean, truthfully, which is wild, but it's kind of what we've come to expect, right? I mean,
yeah. I thought he probably had 3 putts that were some of those like 50-50s, kind of hit
yeah,
the hit the lip and
yeah,
might as well would have gone, but that's
yeah,
just kind of the luck there. But yeah, I think not having his caddy on Sunday, you saw him kind of like pacing, walking
yeah,
around.
yeah,
Some of those like extra things you take for granted when you have your guy on the bag. So
right,
it will be interesting as we kind of get into this week, thinking of him not having his full-time caddy for the entire tournament, it seems
right,
like. So
right.
not a great course fit for him either. We'll probably dive into that more, but
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think truthfully, if put a gun to my head, I think I'd take Rory over Scotty probably.
yeah.
I don't even know what that head-to-head line might be, or even if there is that line. But yeah, I mean that would probably be the better play. But again, Scotty, right? I mean, he'll find a way to be right there in the mix, I'm sure, with or without Ted Scott. So uh it's obviously an impressive run of golf that he's on, and it just feels like you got to take the without market a lot of times, more times than not. Having Fleetwood this past week, I probably should have played the without market and not had to worry about Scotty. Obviously, that's not what bit me, but the without market seems to be you almost have to do it in these big tournaments. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's crazy when you go back and watch some of like the older Golf Channel, like some of the Tiger tournaments when he was really in peak, like 2000, like turn of the century stuff, um, and just the amazing shots he hits. And it's like you watch Scotty, and he's kind of the opposite. He just doesn't hit a bad shot. Like
no,
everything
yeah,
is
you're
so.
right.
And to your
Yeah,
point, like 14, I think it was either 13 or 14, the dog leg out over the water where he turned it over and it didn't fade back,
yeah,
and he missed that one, and then he kind of did that, on steroids on the next hole. So it's like two really bad tee shots for him. You like never see those shots from him.
no,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, that was, I think people feel a certain way about the FedEx tournament being a playoff tournament, but I think we both kind of like the BMW and how it hops around from course to course. You see it in
Yeah.
different areas of the country. We're in
Yeah.
Colorado last year, now moving into Maryland. So yeah, let's cover some of the let's cover some of the good golf courses in the area. Kind of talk a tiny little bit about Maryland golf before we jump in. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on some of the best golf courses in the area?
Um, I mean, I know Congressional, obviously we've seen that on TV a couple times. I've actually played Congressional once. I played TPC Avenel Farm, which is a good track. TPC Potomac's right there as well. The Cannon Club's really underrated. It's a private course. But to your point, Maryland golf is so I don't think people really get to experience it much. We certainly don't see many courses on TV. So it's kind of a hidden state in the sense that of golf, but you definitely have some coastal courses and some courses right there on the water, and then you've got a course like Caves Valley that we'll see this week. That's kind of more of a standard. This is a Fazio design, so just kind of more of a standard golf course. But um, Maryland definitely has some interesting courses that, again, I just don't think the general golfing community thinks about just because we don't see many courses on TV.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's kind of wedged in between. You got obviously Virginia and the Carolinas, tons
Right,
of golf, and we get eyes on that a lot. And then you go up
right.
the coast and some of the majors get some of the New Jersey, New York type courses. Pennsylvania's got some strong ones. So yeah,
Yeah,
Maryland kind of goes under the radar. So I know they've made some changes this year to Caves Valley, so it'll be
yep,
interesting. They played here in 2021.
yeah,
Um, it was a Bryson Cantlay duel. Both were at 27 under. Crazy for a playoff. I know the tour probably wasn't crazy about that. I know they've made changes. Some of the big ones, they've taken par from a 72 down to a 70. They lengthened it about 150 yards up to 7,600. So that is a beefy par
yeah.
70.
That's a beefy one.
That is a big boy. So they moved the greens closer to some of the hazards. The rough is up a bit from to 4 inches, up from three. Um, one thing I was thinking about though is like this, from all accounts, was a pretty bad golf course to test the pros a few years ago. Can you
Yeah,
really think of a course that they, doctored up this much and really changed? I mean, you look at like Craig Ranch, we always hear about some of the tweaks they make. The guys go out there and, it's like an auto, like 20, 25 under. I'm just trying to think of a course that was changed this much that they were successful.
yeah. That's a good call. That's a good point. Um, what comes to mind? Well, they're trying to do it with Harbor Town right now. I know they're in the middle of completely redoing that. Yeah, I mean, you just don't feel like good golf courses typically have to go through a major renovation. Now, maybe with modern golf, we're going to see this more and more, right? With guys hitting it so much further, and just the golf architecture changing. But yeah, you really don't see it all that often. Just not a complete overhaul. But I also thought it was interesting that, I mean, the big change between because if I remember correctly, the rough was still relatively penal here in 2021. But these guys just, I feel like hit it so far. It was kind of a bomb and gouge for Bryson. If you're looking, I'm kind of looking at the 2021 stats. So like it kind of it wasn't just bombers up there. Obviously you had Rory and Bryson in the top five, but then you had Sung J M was thirds, Sam Burns eight, Sergio was up there, Abe Answer had a T10 here, Webb Simpson was 12th. So it was kind of a mix, right? Like it wasn't strictly just bomber. So hitting fairways is obviously going to be a big deal as well. But I'm going to be curious to see how much the rough really plays a difference this week compared to 2021.
It was really wet that week too,
Yeah,
so and I think it's going to play a lot different as a par 70 to par 72. I know that
yeah,
two of the par fives are up over 510 yards, so I think that makes a big difference. That's kind of, we have the best 49 players in the, this season so far. I know Sepp Straka pulled out, so we're down to 49 from 50. I just think, the cream's going to rise to the cream is going to rise to the top here.
yeah,
Just big bull, as good as these guys are. Like I was just reading that they made a lot of those changes in 100 days to this golf course. So
yeah.
I certainly
That's
don't feel
crazy.
100 days they're going to be able to completely flip this thing where
No,
we're
I'm
stuck
with you. Yeah, no, I'm
in
with you.
under par. I think they'll probably get closer to 20 again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you want to jump into the board or kind of
Yeah, let's jump
start
into
at the top here?
one last thought on the 2021. I was looking at this earlier. This was a live leaderboard in 2021. This was a Bryson was in the top five, Sergio, DJ, they both T6'd, Abe Ancer, Rom in the top 10, Varner, Kokrak, Swarchel, Kevin Na, and Swafford. Hudson Swafford's the name. Yeah.
Yeah, some of
Yeah,
those guys.
I mean, all in the top 20. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Uh, K Young Hoo Lee was in the top T12. Interesting. It was an interest. That's an interesting leaderboard. But
I know
yeah,
the
let's
I know
dive in. Let's dive into the board here. I'll let you kind of start with your couple. I know you're pretty convicted on two guys that and you've kind of got two of the hotter golfers, especially in the United States, or for the US team in Goddard and Cam Young. But any thoughts on those two guys or what you're kind of looking at betting angle wise?
top of the board. I feel like Scotty without his caddy, they're really kind of pricing you out at 250 there. I think it's the
Yeah,
best number available, and we're referring to odds checker, just pulling the best numbers here. I think Rory is enticing at 8 to 1. Coming up on a 3 to 4 week layoff, I was kind of a little. You never know what you're going to get with Rory there,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's a question. I mean, this course though, if he's just going to wail away at driver,
right.
in the greens, I just have trouble, believing in 100 days they completely overhaul all these greens where guys are suddenly going to struggle. I
Yeah,
think Gentley had one of the best putting performances in 2021 in like the last 10 years on
it's
tour.
insane.
So
Yeah, yeah,
he gained like 14 strokes. So I think Rory, I think he's in play there. I think that 8 is actually a pretty good number.
yeah.
Jump in if any of these guys, if you're interested. Xander at 20 doesn't do a lot for me. I mean, he's
Nah, me
been
neither.
here. He's had a round or two. He's just never he hasn't been there, down the stretch. So
No, man. I was also thinking on Rory. Rory's, I feel like traditionally not the fastest starter in the world. There's a chance he comes out and shoots one or two under on day one. And again, because this is a non-cut event, and it's 4 days, you might be able to garner a 12 to 13 to 1 on Thursday evening after play. Depending on how he plays. So that might be an angle to take Rory if you're interested in him, and get a little better number. But
yeah, that's not a bad angle. And he's going to be playing with Scotty because they
yeah,
work backwards.
yeah,
So the one and the two are going to play together. So that's
right.
going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, they both might come out Scotty without his caddy. It might be a slow start to your point. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, we've talked about this. The odds just you never get any value in a 50-man field. So
nah,
I mean, I
yeah,
do feel like that 8 is decent.
right.
Just kind of working down here. Tommy is at 20. You know,
No
you
interest.
could, yeah.
Just no interest. Just
You,
zero interest.
Ludwig at 22. Now he was up closer to 30 earlier this week.
Yeah.
Any interest there? I know you were talking about him.
Yeah, I got in on him at 24, and then I got him at 22 as well. Yeah, I mean, I just think looking at his Ludwig's, some of his stats as of late, he had a sneaky good round on Sunday at the FedEx. He's gained strokes in the last couple tournaments, and typically Ludwig just doesn't do that in consecutive weeks. The last 3 weeks he's T8 at the Scottish, T23 at the Open, T9 at the FedEx. He's gained putting, gained strokes putting all 3 weeks. He's gained an approach. He's gained off the tee. Obviously Ludwig also, he hits the ball long ways. He's relatively accurate, which I don't think is going to play the biggest role this week. But I think where you obviously have to take advantage of this course is off the tee. He obviously won earlier in the year at a long course at Torrey Pines. So long courses aren't gonna scare him at all. So I think he's a good fit. He's kind of coming into some better form. He obviously is automatically going to make the Ryder Cup team, but had a really good showing at the Ryder Cup last go around. So I think he kind of can peak around this time of year. And I think you're getting a decent number on a high ceiling guy that can honestly bring his B plus game and win this, right? So, and for me, 30 and better, I just think he's probably the best play in my mind. So going down the board to continue like Cantlay, JT, neither one of them to me are really in enough form to garner the numbers of 25 and 28. Um, what's your thought on Spawn at 30? I feel like FedEx was a better course fit for him than this is. So, again, if he was 60 to 1, double the price, I maybe would jump in on that. But what's your thought on him?
Yeah, I feel like the books are kind of,
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of guys shoved in this 30 to 40 range. And I feel
Hmm.
like they're kind of hedging where they just, when we talked about it, like he's had an unbelievable year and they might just not
Absolutely.
know how he's going to play here. Cause
Right.
this isn't, I mean, how is Oakmont in the rain a good fit for him? He
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not long off the tee, but when
No.
you're making putts from everywhere and you're just kind of fearless and,
Yeah.
that makes
And
up for,
I don't
he's
really
got,
know if Spawn's is a birdie fest guy. Like we're thinking that this score that's going to win is going to be in the what 20 to 22 range under par. If someone goes nuclear like Cantlay did, and obviously Bryson in 21, maybe they get to 25, 26. But I feel like every time Spawn is in contention or winning, it's not in that 20. It's not a birdie fest, right? At the U.S. Open. Obviously the players, I don't know what was that playoff, minus 12, maybe minus 13 with Ian Rory,
yeah,
close to it. And then obviously this past week was minus 16. Um, so again, not like birdie fest like I feel like this week could shape out to be. So Cam Young, I think we're both in on. Um, maybe it's a little steep of a price, but at the same time, man, the guy's striping it, and he brought his draw back. Off the tee numbers are insane. He's shown he can compete in Birdie Fest, and his putting right now. I know I made mention to you when at the Wyndham. He's a good putter. He's a top 25 putter on the PGA Tour, but it feels like he gets in the zone almost like a 2015 Spieth, where he's making everything he looks at. Will that continue this week? I don't think these greens are overly complicated. He's obviously a New York guy, a Western New York guy, which is similar, geography to what this is in Western Maryland. So he should be pretty comfortable here. I don't did he play in 2021?
I, I don't think so. I think he just was starting to get his
That's what
tour.
I
I'm
thought too.
looking at
Yeah,
Data Golf, and he just started to get his card back then.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I don't think
to
he
your
played.
point though, we were both on him at the RBC Canadian,
Yep.
and he was fourth there. He was fourth the next week at the U.S. Open.
Yep.
And he kind of faded a bit for 3 weeks, 52nd, 46th, and a missed cut at the Open. And he just comes out at the Wyndham, and we both missed him there. I did not see, I mean, in retrospect, it was a great course fit. I just didn't see his game in Sedgefield being such a great match. And then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
last week, he was great in round 1 and 2, great on Sunday. He just was pretty bad on Saturday, and he finishes
Yeah.
fifth. And yeah, the putting's there. I mean, if you 7,600 yards, par 70, you feel like with the Brian Campbells of the world in this field, like guys are just going to get filtered out. So
Right.
it feels like if he hits the ball well and he continues to spike putt, he's going to be there on Sunday. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
just feel like the books wedged a bunch of these guys in this 25 to 40 range. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, I think I already saw for the most tipped, Cam was up there and Ludwig were up there. The two guys we've already mentioned we were on, which again kind of makes sense. But um, again, I still think the form with Cam is hard to beat, and I think he cares a lot about the Ryder Cup. It feels like I think probably as if the Ryder Cup were this weekend, I think he's probably on it. But I don't know. Another top five definitely probably seals the deal. So I think his motivation is and certainly should be there, right?
yeah, completely agree. I feel like it's amazing momentum. I mean, we were just talking about Goddard and then Cam comes in, and I feel like he's kind of replaced him. He's kind of
Yeah,
taken all that momentum from Goddard. So,
yeah,
um, moving down the board a bit, going into the 35 range, we got Morikawa. I know we're both probably super out on him.
yeah,
How about Henley? I know Henley pops for you a bit. I know I was in on him a few tournaments ago at the
yeah, yeah. We
Open.
both were. Yeah, yeah. Again, Henley's been doing a lot of things well. I mean, I think his game's very well rounded at the moment. I just hate paying that price in a event like this where I don't feel like his skill set is necessarily I truthfully I felt like last week was a better course fit for him. And he didn't play great, he didn't play terribly, but I just thought last week was probably the week to take him, and I didn't, and he didn't play well. So I don't know. I just don't feel like at that price is I don't know, doesn't really do it for me there. Hovland, you know me, I love Vic, but again, man, he's so. Although I know I saw a couple other people mention about, if you take his Thursday round out, which he played terribly, I think he lost 3 or 4 strokes putting. But if you took that round out, he gained, I think he was second in strokes gained total outside of Scotty. So I, but that's the thing with Victor, right? Like that one round, and I think you could sometimes say the same thing about Oberg. That one round, it shoots himself in the foot. So
And
I don't
and
know.
I know we talked about this earlier. He missed 4 out of 5 cuts, and then he wins at the Valspar. A
Right.
heavy wave split event where it didn't end up taking him down, and he gets the win. And
Yeah.
you look at his last, he was withdraw from Travelers, 11th at the Genesis, the Scottish, 63rd at the Open, and then
Yeah.
32nd last week. So again, kind of middle form here. He's third at the U.S. Open, but to your point, he could just pop up and win, and
Right. Right.
and
Right.
he's great, one of the best long iron players in the world. So those are going to be
Right.
featured this week. Got to hammer that driver out there. So
Yeah. Yeah. To your
yeah,
point, man, those three missed cuts and then winning at the Valspar, which obviously it was not as good of a field as this. And if I remember correctly, he was what, 60, 70. I think he might have even been 75-1 that week.
yeah,
He was up there. So it's like, all right, are you really gonna take him at 35-1 in this
yeah.
field? Probably not, right?
And then you put
But
Scotty and Rory in there too.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. But he comes out and mixes this weekend. Wouldn't shock me at all, Wouldn't shock me one bit.
uh, Sam Burns doesn't do a lot for me here. I feel like he can, the driver off the tee, he gets a little wayward. That might not kill
Yeah.
him here, but I just can't see Sam winning in this event. If I'm honest, a big playoff event with the top 50.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, I think Griffin at 40, similar. I mean, I think I can see him coming T10. I just don't. I, he's been kind of he's been mediocre the last couple. I mean, mediocre compared to how he was playing there for a couple weeks. But again, I don't necessarily see him winning this either. Although I guess he's what T11 and T9 at Wyndham and
Yeah.
the St. Jude. He really turned it. Was that Sunday or Saturday or Sunday? I know he had a really good round. But just the cut kind of at the John Deere and at the Open. I think you're onto something more with Goddard. I know you're in on him, so I'll let you kind of dive into what you see there.
Yeah, and I mean we didn't discuss him really at all going into the Scottish a few weeks ago,
Right.
and I mean you take an American guy who I don't think ever played overseas, and then he goes out there and was super decisive. You know, went toe to toe with Rory, wins over there, and I wasn't on him at the Open. I didn't think he could back that up, and he comes in third.
I'm
You
third.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
just stones down the stretch, 10th at the 3M.
Yep.
You know, one thing that really sticks out is just like these modern younger golfers just wailing at driver and just an
Hmm.
ability to hit those mid irons. I think he had more eagles than in that 3 tournament stretch than I can remember anybody having in a three
Yeah.
week stretch. Tons of
Yeah.
eagles. 54th last week. I don't think, a just guy that wails at driver and is a super
Yeah.
well. It wasn't a great fit. So again, going back to the course, 7,600 par 70. I mean, this guy's going to be, he's going to be getting it out there.
Right.
Two
I
par five.
saw Michael Kim tweet. He played with Pot Geeter on Sunday, and I guess I didn't realize that. I mean, guys that hit it as far as Aldrich and as far as Goddard do. I didn't. I mean, Michael Kim made mention about. I think he said Aldrich only hit driver once or twice. Like it wasn't very often. Just there's that many holes. If you are hitting the ball that far, that you're hitting a 3 wood, maybe a mini driver, but you could really get a 3 iron out there if you needed to at the St. Jude. So, that T54, I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't worry that much about that. I think this is so much better of a course fit for him. So.
Pretty big variance at the price, going from 28 to 40. So
Yeah,
obviously we like 40 better. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can
uh,
still get him at 40 out there, I mean, I think that's a number to get in on. 28, you start hemming and hawing about it a little bit, but I mean, I think he and Cam Young are very similar profiles this week. Both of them are, good form. That they're gonna hit a good driver out there. And both can make birdies, right? So I
yep.
think they're very similar profiles.
Yeah, so that for with a 50-man field, not great value. I'll probably stick with the 2-man card, look for some
Yeah.
other value. Going down the board, Fitz at 40. Let me know if anybody jumps out here to you. We've both been on Fitz. I don't see this as a course fit.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. And he did not play well on Friday of this past weekend, and he just didn't hit the ball near as well as he had been. He got a little wayward with the driver, and he had been driving the ball pretty well. Yeah, I don't see this as a plus course fit for him. Obviously, he had an eighth at the Rocket, fourth at the Genesis, and fourth and eighth at the Open in Wyndham, but I just don't see this as an overly great course for him. But so I did get in on Decky. Again, I think he's been a little wayward with the driver. But I think he's someone that can obviously win in a birdie fest, right? We saw him do it in Hawaii earlier this year. He's gone T13 at the Rocket, T16 at the Open, T19 at the Wyndham, where we saw him at in 17th last week. And really, none of that's been because of overly inaccurate driving. Um, he hadn't lost any strokes because of accuracy. He's been decent off the tee, but his approach numbers have just steadily gotten better and better. He was gained 2 at the Rocket, almost gained 2 last week. Obviously he's a spike putter, right? Like he can, um, When he won at the Century, he gained a stroke and a half putting. Um, so a Birdie Fest guy, if you're going to take someone with a little higher ceiling, hey, he could come 40th. But when he gets it going, I think we both know like what can happen. So I think he's probably as far down the board as I'm willing to go this week, but I think he's got some upside for sure.
Yeah, just looking, you said it. I mean, he's gained on approach 7 out of 8 weeks, tons of green on the board there, and he really
Yeah,
hasn't putted that well. I mean, he gained a
no,
stroke at the Open, uh, T16th there. So to
right.
your point, if he keeps those approach numbers where they've been, and he gains a few strokes putting,
Yeah.
he's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, he's
So
a guy. He's a guy that can be around zero at putting and win, right? Like he doesn't have to have his approach numbers are good enough where he doesn't have to have a major spike putting week like some of these other guys do. So, and he's kind of been on the he's in form ball striking wise, which he normally is, but those numbers have really kind of spiked. And this doesn't seem like a course where accuracy is going to kill you, right? But he really hasn't driven it that poorly, outside of a tournament or two. So we'll see. I mean, I think again, I think he's got some upside. And going back to the board, I mean, you go down the list. I've seen some people on Kitayama. I don't really see the profile here, just with it being a little longer of a course. I don't think Justin Rose is going to back up what he just did. Um, Although I'll tell you what, I'll give Rosie some credit, man. He gets it out there further than I thought he did. He hit some drives on Sunday that uh, they had some pop to him.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the stones to cover that corner,
Yeah, yeah,
time after time,
that
like
to
you
me
brought up.
was yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive at
Hmm.
45 years old. So we're looking at about the 50 range. Anybody profile wise, even though you might not be in on, stick out to you going way down the board?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm still swimming on Batia. I've taken him several times over the last couple tournaments. I think 55 is not a terrible number on him. He plays long courses well. The driver at where did I have him at? I had him at oh the 3M. And the driver went a little wayward on that Sunday. He could not have played worse. I think he shot 76 on that Sunday when he had the lead going into the final round, and ended up finishing T25, which is just embarrassing. But um, I, the accuracy is not going to kill him here. Like I said, he does play long courses well. Let's see, he's gained on approach. My goodness, on every single tournament dating back to the Charles Schwab, he's gained on approach. So he's obviously striping it pretty well. So that's a guy I'm swimming around. Really outside of that, I mean, you start getting into um, I don't know, what's your thought on?
I I have a guy at 75 that I
Okay.
haven't really talked about, but it's kind of my theory. Once when you see a guy who's been lost and you see him pop, then kind of not win, and
Right.
then kind of pop again a little bit. Not the best course fit, but at 75, Sung Jae is interesting to me.
You know
So
what?
he's
He was top five here in 2021.
that's he did say that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
and again, he hasn't really played terrifically, but what T17 this past week,
20
um,
first
gained
round
on.
leader,
Yeah,
first round
right.
leader at the Wyndham, and then he
Yeah,
faded, but showing signs. But he's another guy. You go down his history,
yeah.
he'll miss 5 cuts in a row and then
I
suddenly
know, I
spike.
know. Yeah,
Like at the
gained.
Farmers,
He
you
gained
know.
in every category. Um, this past week, but you're right. First round leader at the Wyndham. Um,
I don't like him at a 7,600 yard golf course, but obviously finding something
yeah. Let's see how he.
might be worth a top 10. I mean, you're in a 50-man
I mean,
field, so
truthfully, he was T4 at Torrey Pines in the in January, which is another 75, 7,600 yard course. Um, Granted, when they played the Genesis there, he missed the cut, but um, so I mean he let's see, I mean, the accuracy was there that week, so he plays another long course relatively well. Yeah, hey, at that number, I don't think it's a terrible bet. You're taking a chance on a guy that can get it going. So I don't hate that at all.
And
I
down.
I was on
Oh, go.
Novak the other week. Novak's a guy that can get it going. And make birdies. Let's see, he was uh I was looking at his St. Jude stats earlier. He's not going to pound the ball off the tee, but he got the putter working the other day, T6 there. Um, Obviously, he played pretty well earlier in the year, but that's a guy at 80 that I don't think is a terrible bet. I really just don't see much value later or down the board even more than that. I've seen a couple of people on Ryan Fox at 1,300. I know you've been on him a couple times this year. It's not a terrible course fit, right?
No, it's not. I mean, he could just wail away a driver.
Yeah,
He played well up in Canada. That was a big ballpark they were at north of Toronto this year. So,
yeah,
I mean, you talk about a guy. I mean, kind of the opposite of Fleetwood. When he's there, he could win. I mean, he's
yeah.
kind of like he's there. He's got a good winning percentage, kind of like a Nick Taylor. So I don't hate that either. Other guys way down here. Yeah, I just don't think a lot of these guys hit the ball far enough. Your Jacob Bridgmans, your Bergers.
Yeah.
What about Sam
Bridgman's Bridgman's
Stevens?
been on a freaking heater putting, man. Just absolute heater. And he's one of the better putters on tour, but I know I've seen a couple people talking about his putting numbers. He's a big Bermuda putter, and let's see, he had gained, yeah, the Travelers a stroke and a half putting, Rocket over a stroke, John Deere stroke, Wyndham 0, St. Jude he gained a stroke. So yeah, again though, I don't think he hits it far enough to really contend.
What about Sam Stevens? I'm kind of digging in here.
Yeah, I've heard a couple people talk about him. He played well at what was that, the 3M. He came in second.
And then he was
Um, yeah,
third at the CJ Cup, which is another
yeah,
driver putter, and then he was
yeah,
second to Harris at the Farmers at Torrey. So
yeah,
we
yep,
we have three big ballparks
yeah.
uh, where he's got top three. Is
Yeah, I mean those two tournaments, the Byron Nelson and the 3M, he gained right around two strokes putting,
mm,
which is certainly above his baseline. So I don't know how much of that is Spike kind of putting, right? Because he
yeah, I think
didn't really gain much approach either week. He was plus around the green and he was barely plus off the tee. Yeah, you said Farmers. Yeah, I mean he was definitely plus off. He was plus all the way all across the board at the Farmers back in January. So
maybe not a
again,
bad
I
look
mean
for
Spike Butter
first.
though.
Yeah, maybe first round leader is a good play
Yeah,
there. I
yeah, that
mean,
might
it's
be.
tough to see him beating Rory and Scotty.
No, I don't either. Right? Yeah, I mean I'm not thinking his first win's going to be at this tournament beating the Rory, Scotty, Cam Young right now. But yeah, first round lead that might not be a bad look at all. Um, and then
uh,
Denny's, I know I'm a Denny guy. Denny's from the area. He might be a first round leader guy at 80. I don't think he's not going to win. This won't be his first win either, but he might be a first round lead guy as well.
Anybody else down the board? I have one thought that popped into my head. If we're done with the bottom of the
Yeah,
board,
no, that's I can't see anybody else. I definitely don't see Brian Campbell. I don't care what number he's at, I'm not taking him. So
um, one thing that stood out to me is so Cantlay 2 weeks ago started working with Phil Kenyon, putting
hmm
instructor,
yeah,
and
yeah, buddy.
his putting's been bad this year. So
Hmm.
maybe the number kind of takes us out of it at like 22, 25, but it would almost be interesting to kind of front that to see if something clicks this week and be ahead of it. But
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I
something that stood
mean,
out.
the problem with Cantlay this week is like your recreational guys see, oh shit, he won this in 2021, and he's been bet down. Or I mean, they really made the number. Truthfully, with his form, he probably should be in the 40s, don't you think?
Yeah, probably closer
I,
to
I
Morikawa,
mean,
like
yeah, he
someone that,
T9'd last week, but uh, I mean, he's striping it again. Gained almost 2 strokes approach, gained point 0.3 off the tee. I mean, he did gain putting this past week, but granted, I mean, those aren't the hardest greens in the world. So,
right.
I definitely think something to monitor, though. I mean, I think you're right. He hasn't putted well this year, and I've always thought of him to be one of the better putters on tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I just think the number because recreational guys are going to see, oh, he won here in 2021, and I just think that number's not as advantageous. Again, he might be a guy that falls to 50, 60 to 1 after round one or two. I just think there's good ways in these no cut events to get in on guys after round one or two just because there's not a cut. We've seen several winners obviously come from behind this year. I mean, Kitayama, obviously, Justin Rose was in the final group, but he was technically behind. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity going into a Saturday with a guy that is 8, 9 strokes down that can get hot. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess since we're at the bottom of the board, to recap, I'm going to be in on Cam Young and Chris Gotterup. And who are you officially in on?
Oberg, Matsuyama, and Cam Young. So we're
Okay.
we're right there on Cam Young together. Yeah, it should be an interesting week. I mean, I think you're gonna see. I think it's gonna be the 20 to 24 range. I really do. It hasn't. I mean, they've gotten some rain up in Maryland. But I think it'll be interesting to pay attention to what the rough is tomorrow as well. So, and get some reports and see how big of a penalty that really is going to be. Because if it's not much of a penalty, as we know, man, these guys can kill it and get out there. So.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good tournament. So we'll try to do this weekly. We'll try to get on the horn next week. I know both of us really don't care for the Tour Championship, but maybe we'll throw in some Ryder Cup talk as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Tour Championship's just a tough one, right? I do at least like that they did away with the starting strokes. That could have been the worst thing in sports, but um, yeah, at least they got away from that. East Lake's a fun golf course. I mean, I enjoy East Lake. The rough is normally pretty penal. It's got some cool finishing holes, but um, we'll see. It's not my favorite setup, obviously, but yeah, maybe we can get into some Ryder Cup stuff next week, and we'll see. It'd be nice to start this podcast with a winner, man. That'd be best case scenario.
Yeah, let's hope for some green screens moving forward.
Love it. I love it. All right.
Awesome.
All right, dude. Well,
Have a good one.
let's
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
man,
connect
let's get
next
a
week.
winner. Yeah.